Welcome to the Friday night Sabbath Bible study of the Spirit of Prophecy Church. Your host here, Stan Johnson, Spirit of Prophecy Church, Prophecy Club, Prophetic Oil, and soon to be Power of Jesus Crusades, which I will save that little secret here for probably this next week. I will be able to update and inform people what we're doing. Okay, so First of all, we got to pray. Trying to read and understand the Bible without prayer is not a good thing. Always want to make certain that God is with you. So, Lord, you said that wherever two or more are gathered in your name, there you are in the midst of them. So we gather in the name of Jesus. We know that wisdom and might is yours. You change the times and seasons. You removeth kings and setteth up kings. You giveth wisdom to the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. You revealeth the deep and secret things. You knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with you. So, Lord, tonight we ask you to show us the deep and secret things. Help us to understand what we're reading, what you spoke, when you spoke it, how it ties together with the rest of your word, and also help us to understand how it affects our lives and into the future. Especially in that we're about to study about Revelation chapter 12 and 13, two of the most important chapters to understand the last days. Lord, help us to see, know, understand, not be afraid, but to use this to win souls into your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so first of all, if you want to understand Bible prophecy, I have tried till I'm blue in the face to explain it. But one of the visions said I should write a book. This is the book. And that some things cannot be learned by audio and video. Some things can only be learned by reading about them. So this is the book I wrote. It's called Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy. And if you want to understand Bible prophecy, this is the only way I know to do it. You got to get this book. It explains what's going on. It's got charts in the back, which we'll probably talk about from time to time. This is the last 12 months. This is the last 7 years. This is the last 7 months. And I wrote the book in 2 columns like that because you can get more words per page. Now, even though it looks like it's a thin book, it's 6 by 9, you would be wrong. As a matter of fact, it has 86,000 words to it. That's normally about a 2-inch thick book, maybe 2.5-inch thick book, because most of the publishers, use large margins and thick paper because that makes the book more valuable because it's thicker. Okay, I didn't write extra words in there. I just wrote what I felt like God wants me to say. So I'd recommend you go to Prophecy Club and get the book. Now, one is for $20, but don't do that. You want to get 5 of them. They come in shrink wrap sets of 5 for $35. Why? Because you want to be able to give 4 of them away. As a matter of fact, we have people call up and buy them by the case. So it's been very, very popular, very well received. Okay, so tonight we're going to start in Revelation chapter 12. And if we get through Revelation 12 and 13, we've done a lot. And I'm not convinced we're going to get through all of that. But we will see. That's not the shot I want. This is the shot I want. Okay, so here we go. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven. Oh, now, let me explain where we're going. This chapter does 3 things. It shows who the woman is. In other words, in terms of the church, in terms of I would say the children of Israel, even more than the church, and also who the devil is. But the main purpose of the chapter is to speak to John that he is coming back as one of the 2 witnesses that must prophesy again before many peoples, nations, languages, and tongues. And you might be saying, well, Stan, why do you do this Bible study? Why do you take your Friday evenings when you could be doing something with your family or wife or something like that. Why do you do it? Because I need it, but I also figure that there's a lot of people out there that would like to have someone teach through the book of Revelation that has actually memorized it and wrote a book on it. So there you go. All right, so that's still not, it's not giving me the, here, wait a minute, I remember here. Which this one? No, that's not what I want. This one. There we go. Okay. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Now, what in the world is that talking about? Well, we had Bob Wadsworth in to speak at Prophecy Club, made a DVD called Prophecy in the Stars. You can watch it at watchprophecyclub.com. And he explained that this is an astronomical sign that happens every year. Okay, so then if it happens every year, you may be saying, so what does it tell us? Well, all of the years before it, all of the years after, it doesn't tell us much. But the one year it did speak, it was talking about Jesus. There appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman. Who's the woman? Well, in this case, it's the children of Israel. Woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. That's an astronomical configuration that happens once each year. Now, and she being with child, who would that be? Jesus. So it's saying that Jesus is going to come out of Israel. That's all it said up to this point. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. So Jesus was to be delivered out of the land of Israel. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. Hang on here, it's not doing what I wanted to do. Get set here. Okay, so this is telling us that the primary enemy of the children of Israel, i.e. Jesus coming from her, is the great red dragon. See, God's color is blue, which is the reason for Prophecy Club I wear a blue shirt every day. It represents God. Sorry, Democrats, but you really ought to have red, because red is the devil's color. Right there's the scripture that tells us. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. This is also an astronomical sign, but it's also explaining the difference between the light and the darkness, between the good and the battle between them. So it's basically saying that there's a big battle between the children of Israel and the great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. So when this was at creation, at that time, the devil had 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. Now we believe that a horn, King James has a dictionary built in. So if you want to know what a word means, you go to the first time it appears in the King James, and along with that, it also gives a definition. So if you do that with horns, it's talking about a ruler. So it's talking about the devil, the great red dragon, that has 7 heads, or this is, in other places, head is a landmass. So it's probably talking about that he has 7 landmasses. Okay, well, let's see. What would be the 7 landmasses? That would be the 7 continents of the world. Wait a minute, the devil has those? Yes. When Adam and Eve ate of the fruit, they lost dominion of the earth, and it was given to the devil. So it's talking about 7 heads or 7 landmasses, and over those are 10 rulers. Well, let's see. That is what the Club of Rome has done. They divide the 7 continents into 10 global regions. So this is telling us who this is, and that's going to be important when we get to later chapters to help us to understand who it is, what it's talking about. Now, 7 crowns upon his heads. So the devil gives those 10 horns 7 crowns. And you remember in Daniel chapter 7, as the Antichrist rises, he overcomes 3 of the other horns. See how it fits together? All right, now let's go on down here. And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Now, when we think of tail, we think of serpent, and the devil is a serpent, but he's also been able to change himself into a being of light. But if he is a serpent, and he is, and he was, then he would have a tail. So we tend to think, oh, his tail is what it's saying. Or could it also mean his tail as in a T-A-L-E, as in the lie that he told all of the angels, trying to get them to fall away from God. And this apparently happened, who knows, long time before Adam and Eve came along. So he lied to all of the angels in heaven, trying to convince them that they should follow him and walk away from Father God. That's what it's saying. And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven. So a third part of the angels, that's what the stars are, a third part of the angels fell. They accepted Lucifer and they walked away from God. That's what it's saying. And his tail, or his lie, drew a third part of the angels of heaven. And as a result, they were cast to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman. The woman is again Israel, which was ready to be delivered of Jesus, for devour her child Jesus as soon as it was born. And of course, you remember what was the king's name? I had it and I lost it. The king that called the wise men in. Oh, well, where is this king supposed to be born? Come and let me know so that I may go and worship him too. And of course, then they commanded all children 2 years and under to be killed in all of the land, because he was afraid of emerging leadership. He would be afraid that this child would grow up and remove him from being a king. So they were trying to kill Jesus. That's the reason it says, third part of the stars did cast him to the earth. The dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So from the very beginning, the devil was trying to kill Jesus, but he was not able to. And she brought forth a man-child, that would be Jesus, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Now, why does it say a rod of iron? Because when Jesus goes to the marriage supper, which we'll talk about here in a couple of weeks, when he goes to the marriage supper, and he is crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and he's given all power. He's given dominion, glory, and power. His dominion is everlasting dominion. His kingdom is that which shall not be destroyed. He's given all power in heaven and earth. At that point, he is the ruler of the earth. 4 months later, he returns on white horses with us in tow, uses the morning star to destroy the tares on the earth, to cleanse the earth of all sin. And then after that, he rules the planet. He rules everything with a rod of iron. What does that mean? It means there's no bending the rules. There's no more breaking the rules. It means that if you sin, now we're not talking about us because we're in our glorified body, we won't be able to sin. We can't sin. And however, the nations, those are the ones that did not take the mark of the beast, but they also didn't receive Jesus. They are the corners, not harvested. They are what is called the nations. So it says, rule all nations with a rod of iron. So those nations, those people that don't get a glorified body, they don't get their name in the book of life, they don't get eternal life, they're allowed to live up to 1,000 years. And then after the 1,000 years expired, Satan should be loosed out of his prison. He goes out to deceive the nations, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together, the number of whom is as the sand of the earth. And the fire from God from heaven came down and devoured them. So it's just like whoosh. But during that 1,000 years, if anybody sins, a morning star judge shows up, probably one of those that were beheaded for the witness and testimony of Jesus, and uses the morning star and hits them with the morning star. They fall to the ground, a pile of ashes and bones, destroying both body and soul. In other words, once Jesus is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, there is no more sin ever allowed, ever again. He rules with a rod of iron. Okay, let me back up. She brought forth a man-child who is to rule all nations with a rod of iron. That's Jesus. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman, that would be Israel, fled into the wilderness where she had the place prepared of God that they should feed her there 1,203 days. Now, between this verse and this verse, you got to insert about 2,000 years. So this verse right here is talking about after, well, it's talking about in the middle of the tribulation. You remember when Jesus said, when you see the abomination of spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, leave Dodge, run for your life. Pray that your flight be not in winter and all that sort of stuff. Well, they run 216 miles straight down south, down to the real Mount Sinai, which is in Saudi Arabia. And on the way down there, the devil opens up his mouth as he might cause the water to come out of his mouth and drown the woman. But the earth helped the woman and opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And so what happens is when those people that have read Matthew 24, the Christians in Jerusalem, when they see the Antichrist sit on the Ark of the Covenant, proclaim himself God, stop animal sacrifice, they are commanded to leave immediately. Don't pack, don't collect $200, don't pass go, don't delay at all. Run for your life. They run straight south. On the way down, there's a big flood, but the earth opens up, a big crack, swallows up the water. They make it on down to the real Mount Sinai. I've been there. I climbed it October the 8th of 2022. And they don't offer sacrifices of animals. They offer sacrifices of praise. And they are supernaturally protected during that time. That's the reason the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So they are supernaturally protected during that last 3.5 years. So if you ask me what's the best place to be to survive the end times, I would say Jerusalem. You'd say, what? Because it doesn't sound like it'd be a good place. But as soon as you see the Antichrist set on the Ark of the Covenant, stop animal sacrifice, you run straight south. And then at the end of the day, you're supernaturally protected for the last 3.5 years of the tribulation. So that's kind of what it's about to say here. So I kind of gave you an overview. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she has a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,203 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Now, when I was memorizing this, I didn't think I'd do it. I thought it too difficult. So when I started looking at the first few verses in Revelation chapter 1, I thought, too complicated. I can't even remember. I didn't start at chapter 1, verse 1. I started chapter 1, verse 7, because I thought those first 6 verses, I don't even think I'll get those down. Well, after I got to the end of the chapter, I got enough confidence. I thought, okay, maybe I can memorize at least the first chapter. So I went back and I memorized the other verses. So I actually got the end of the first chapter. That gave me a little confidence. Then I got the second chapter and the third chapter. Someplace in there, I thought, man, I don't know if I can do this. It's really tough. So I thought, look, I need a goal. Okay. What's the middle? At least I might not be able to do the whole book, but let me shoot for the middle. So I took the text, I removed all the numbers. So I only had just the text of the King James Version. And I calculated up how many words that was, and then divided that by 2. And I found the exact middle of the King James Version of Revelation. And then I put an X there. I thought, well, at least that's my interim goal. At least memorize half of it. Well, that big red X right there, that's the middle. So that was my goal, to reach this. At least I'm going to do half of it. Now, then I realized, I heard someplace that the center word of every verse in the Bible is the primary word that verse is about. The center, how do I say this? The center verse in every chapter is the primary thing that chapter is about. And so the center word in the entire book of Revelation is the primary thing that book is about. Now, you would think that the book of Revelation is all about Jesus being lifted up and crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's not true. That red X tells us the real objective is to show the casting down and defeat of Satan. So which is better, that Jesus is crowned King of Kings, or from God's point of view, casting out our enemy? Because Jesus is Jesus, okay? He's always been Jesus, always will be Jesus. But the dragon cast down, that's the central point, the central theme of the book of Revelation. And I thought, that's really good. Okay, now let's back up. I did a lot of talking there. And there was war in heaven. Now, next question. When's this war in heaven? Well, we believe this war in heaven took place, if I'm thinking right here, took place before Adam and Eve. But there's another war where the devil is going to be cast out of heaven. Now, wait a minute. I know what you're thinking, but I'll explain it. Okay. There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was a place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon, so there's the middle, the great dragon was cast out. That old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, he was cast out into the earth. Okay, no, all right. I got that straight in my mind. You remember when we first, here, let me just back up. Okay, so this is actually the last casting out. That's right. That's right. Okay, this is in the middle of the tribulation, when the dragon or Satan is cast out of heaven, is when he comes down and inhabits the body of the Antichrist. That's when the Antichrist sits on the Ark of the Covenant. Yes, it's the body of the Antichrist, but what it really is Lucifer. Because Lucifer's whole objective, his whole existence, he wants to sit on the throne of God and get the worship that God gets. Now, he doesn't mind making people worship him, whereas with God, they do it out of their own free will. So let me back up. Here is the first casting out that happened before Adam and Eve. This is the last or final casting out in the middle of the tribulation, to get that straight here. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and loved not their lives unto the death. Now, I used to think that the only way you got to become an overcomer is actually giving your life for Jesus. And of course, that's a sure way. But I see something else. And this is the verse that helped me to see that. They overcame by the blood of the Lamb. What's that talking about? It's saying that these people have received Jesus, but that's not all. By the word of their testimony. Now, if someone says, oh, well, I'm a Christian. Oh, really? Well, when did you receive Jesus? Oh, back when I was a kid. Oh, well, tell me about it. If they don't have a testimony, they really didn't receive Jesus. Because anybody that really received Jesus will be happy to tell you all of the details of what was happening in their life when they received Jesus. They have a testimony. And they love not their lives unto the death. Now, probably most of the overcomers will be killed. Most Christians will be killed between now and the return of Jesus. There will be some alive, but there's not going to be very many. But I think the actual definition of being an overcomer is these three things. A, you accepted Jesus, the blood of Jesus. You're washed in the blood. B, You've got a testimony. And you've also are willing to give your life. Now, in order for you to be willing to give your life, and that means that you had to, this is my definition, it's not exactly what it says, I understand that. But again, when you memorize the book of Revelation, the spirit of revelation came into my heart, and I know and I understand things on a level I never had before. So this is what it's really saying. It's saying that for you to be an overcomer, you have to be able to see the beast, hear the beast, and not receive the beast. There's 4 things you can't do. You can't worship the beast, his name, number, or his image. 4 things. Do any one of those, and not only are you not an overcomer, but you're tossed in the lake, burned with fire and brimstone, with the beast and the false prophet. Then 1,000 years later, after the millennium, when Lucifer's tossed in there, you're in there with him, and there is no hope of escape. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. And they overcame by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore, okay, what's the therefore? Therefore means because of this is the next thing. Okay, so what's the therefore? It's saying because the devil has now been cast out, and because he's in the earth, and because they refused to receive his mark, name, or number, they refused it, therefore rejoice ye heavens, not on earth, rejoice the heavens. Why are they saying rejoice in the heavens? Is this just talking to the angels? No. I believe that at this point, we are at the marriage supper of the Lamb, I think. Now, let me get that straight in my head here. That may be a new revelation. Therefore, rejoice ye heavens, and them that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman. Now, what's that mean? It means that all of those people that are Christians, especially the ones that are in Jerusalem and in Israel, he really comes after them. And when the dragon saw that he was cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman, the children of Israel, which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. Now, I cannot tell you how many different interpretations I have come up with through the years of what that means. Oh, well, that's got to be an airplane. No. Well, that's maybe them fleeing from Jerusalem. No. So what are the 2 wings of a great eagle? It's Exodus 19:4, and I'm really not set up to look into the Bible. I don't want to go look that up. So I'll tell you what it says. It says that God, when he pulled the children of Israel out of Egypt, he brought them out on the wings of an eagle. So it's talking about the woman given 2 wings of a great eagle. This is the same thing we saw up here. Okay, the woman fled in the wilderness, verse 6, and then down here, the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle. It says it twice. Wait a minute, Stan. Why would it have to say it twice? Because the book of Revelation is a standalone book. What do you mean? Well, the Bible says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. So when it's an important point, the Bible always says it a minimum of 2 times. If it doesn't say it 2 times, then it's saying, yeah, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen. But in that this is 2 times, the woman given 2 wings of great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into a place where she is nourished for the same time. 1,260 days is time times half a time from the face of the serpent. So what it's saying is the same thing. It's saying that when the dragon is cast out of heaven, that's when he inhabits the body of the Antichrist. The Antichrist sits on the Ark of the Covenant, stops animal sacrifice, requires everybody to worship him. That is the moment that the dragon's been cast out. That is the moment that he also, the Christians that have read Matthew 24 see that. So it's the same thing. They see that and they say, we got to leave. We got to get out of Dodge. We got to get out of Dodge now. Don't collect $200. Don't pass go. Leave. Don't pack. Nothing. run south. So it's the same event. Time times half a time from the face of the serpent. Why? Because he's going to come and try to kill all the Christians, especially in Jerusalem in specific and in Israel in general. All right, now let's go on to the next one. And the serpent cast out of his mouth waters of flood out of the woman after the woman. That's what I was just telling you about. So as they leave Jerusalem, they're heading the 216 miles straight south down to the real Mount Sinai. And the devil casts water out of his mouth as a flood, that it might cause the woman to be carried away with the flood. Meaning, he uses, my opinion, he uses scalar wave to cause a big flood to come to that area. Why? Well, I walked up and down those ravines there, and they're like 2 to 4 or 5 stories high at an angle about like this. And the rocks, you start kind of trying to crawl out. It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't go up that because the rocks just crumble. You just do this, okay? So the serpent sees that all of the Christians that saw the Antichrist set on the Ark of the Covenant are leaving. So he tries to bring a big flood to drown them. But a big crack comes in the earth, is what it's saying. A big crack comes in the earth so that it swallows up the flood, so that the Christians that followed Matthew 24, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, then run to the hills, okay? This is them running to the hills. And the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth, or angry, with the woman. So she's angry with the children of Israel, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Where did he go? So what happened was he was fleeing after the Christians leaving. So he sends a flood to drown them, but the earth opens up. They survive. They're able to go on down to the real Mount Sinai, where they offer sacrifices of praise, not animals. And then he gets mad because he sees that God is protecting them. Kind of like the same thing happened to Pharaoh. You know, God is protecting them, took off the chariot wheels so that they drug heavily. So they went to make war with the remnant of their seed. Where's the remnant? Well, those are the Christians. See, it says the remnant of her seed. So that's also basically all of the people in Jerusalem. He goes back to destroy everybody in Jerusalem at that point. With the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, hath the testimony of Jesus Christ. But especially he's going after the Christians. So, in the middle of the tribulation, he sets the Ark of the Antichrist sets on the Ark of the Covenant. The Christians leave. The Antichrist follows them down there. Then sends a flood. The earth opens up, swallows up the flood. Then the Antichrist turns and goes back to Jerusalem to attack and kill the rest of the Christians that didn't leave as Jesus had told them to leave. Okay. I've got some questions. By the way, this is the book. This is what I'm reading from right here, okay? And you can get this whole spiral ring notebook. What you want to do is go to prophecyclub.com, order the Watchman's package. The Watchman's package. You get 2 of these big 2 foot by 3 foot charts of. Here, I'll show you. Here. You get this chart and this chart. They're smaller charts in the book, but you get 2 foot by 3 foot chart, and you also get my books, several things. Go to prophecyclub.com and check it out. Anyway, let me go on here. Okay, how are we doing on time? Yes. I don't think we're going to make it. Not another 30 minutes, not chapter 13. Last time I taught chapter 13 was in Honduras. I talked about it for 2 hours. So we'll see. Now, Revelation 13 is talking about the rise of the world government, the Antichrist, and his false prophet, and how they take over, and the mark of the beast. In my opinion, Revelation 13 is the most important chapter in Revelation. And if you don't want to be tossed into the lake burning with fire and brimstone with the beast and the false prophet, and 1,000 years later, Lucifer. It's probably one of the most important chapters to avoid the mark of the beast. It's the only place in the Bible that talks about the mark of the beast. So it's extremely important to know this chapter. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. Okay, now what's the sea? Well, we know from Revelation 17, the sea is the people. So this is a world government rising up out of the people. That's what it's saying. I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a world government, that's the beast, rise up out of the people, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Wait a minute, where have we heard there's 7 heads and 10 horns? Oh, yeah, that's what the earlier chapter described as the red dragon. Okay, so what's it saying? It's saying that the red dragon, Lucifer, that old devil called Satan, is going to make a world government, rise up from the people, 7 global regions, seven continents that have been divided into 10 global regions. That's what it's saying. And upon his horns, 10 crowns, straight out of the other chapter. And upon his heads, now remember heads, those are land masses. And upon his heads, the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard. What's the leopard? Well, if you'll study leopards, you'll see where they live, print a map, then see their mating habits, their hunting habits, their living habits. They run to fight another day. They seldom fight face to face. They'll wait until the prey is walking by, and then they pounce on them from their back. And they like to live in caves. Everything about the leopard is just like the Muslims. The Arabs, they live in caves. Their motto is run to fight another day. They don't like fighting face to face. They are ones that use IEDs, improvised explosives, to kill you. They set traps. So everything about the leopard is saying Muslims, Arabs. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. Okay, who's the bear? That would be Russia. And his mouth is the mouth of a lion. Who's the lion? That would be England. So it is saying that there is going to be a world government rise up that would be comprised of Muslims, Russians, and the English-speaking world. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. What dragon? The dragon right here, 7 heads, 10 horns, horns upon his crown. Okay, so the 2 chapters go together. The 2 chapters have explained what is going on here. And I saw one of his heads. Can't remember what's the head. That's the landmass. The horn is the ruler. I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Now, I do not think that it's saying that this Antichrist is shot in the head. I think that he's not even saying that he's wounded in the head. He's saying that this head, and the next question you're going to say is, wait a minute. Didn't you just tell me the head is a landmass? Yes, but in Daniel chapter 7, it says, and I saw one of his horns, and in one of these horns was an eye. So that confirmed horns are talking about people, whereas heads are talking about land masses. I saw one of his heads, one of the land masses, as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power to the beast. Okay, wait a minute, Stan. Is the head a person, or is the head a landmass? Yes, it's both. In this case, it's a person. It's a specific person, the Antichrist. So here's the way we would say it today. I saw one of the rulers of the 10 global regions. Each region has a ruler, and upon his head had the name of blasphemy. So one of there's 10 land masses. Okay, they take the 7 continents. Let me jump here full screen where I can show you here. Come on. Doesn't work the way I want it to work sometimes. Okay, so we have 7 continents that are divided into 10 global regions. One of those regional rulers is either the Bible's unclear. Either he dies or appears to die. And when he dies, then I'm getting things confused here. There's three others. Daniel chapter 7 says that he overcomes. And then out of those three, another one stands up. That means that there's now 8 rulers. Let me go back to what we're saying here. See if I can push the right button. That'll work. Okay. I saw one of his heads. After we're wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. I do not think that he necessarily dies. He may die, but the point is, the whole world sees this guy gets wounded. It's kind of like Trump. Now, I'm not saying Trump is the Antichrist, okay? I'm only giving you an example. So he's wounded, in this case, wounded to death, either he dies or appears to die. So which one do you think it is? Well, since the devil doesn't have any original thoughts, he only takes what God does and does it to the reverse, to the opposite. Since Jesus actually died for 3 days, my guess is, see, Antichrist doesn't mean against Christ. It means to replace Christ. The devil doesn't want to replace God. He wants to worship as if he is God. So that tells me that probably what's going to happen, the Antichrist will be killed and die for 3 days, then come back to life. See, that's the same pattern that Jesus did. Why? Because then all the world will wonder. You see that word wonder? That means they're mesmerized, they're shocked, they're amazed. And that's one of the big things that gets him to become ruler of the world, because he comes back to life. I think you'll agree. Someone that all of the world sees, maybe he's blown up in an airplane. I don't know what it is. Maybe he is shot in the head. I don't know. All the world sees this Antichrist gets killed. 3 days later, he comes back to life. That would cause all the world to wonder. They would be in amazement, mesmerized. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power to the beast. Now, wait a minute. Are they worshiping the beast or are they worshiping the dragon? That's 2 different entities, but the same body. Because in the midst of the tribulation is when the Antichrist is cast out. Remember, we read that. When he's cast out, he's cast to the earth. So when he goes down, he needs a body. And that body would be the Antichrist, which then goes and sits on the Ark of the Covenant. So when it says all the world wondered after the beast, that's the Antichrist. And they worship the dragon, which now is the beast. So these 2 guys are in the same body. The beast and the dragon are in the same body, which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Okay, so are they worshiping the beast or the dragon? The answer is they're worshiping one flesh and blood man, which is the beast, and which is also the dragon. Who's like unto the beast? Who's able to make war with him? Look, how can you beat a guy that can come back from the dead, right? And there was given to him a mouth speaking great things. You can roll over to Daniel chapter 7 and find exactly the same words. Excuse me. A mouth speaking great things. Okay, what? God gives the Antichrist a mouth and permission to speak against him. So you say, wait a minute, you mean God actually helps his enemy do a better job? Yes. Why? Because God will send them a strong delusion so that all those that not come to the knowledge of the truth would believe the lie and be damned. In other words, God has been offering the blood of Jesus for now some 2,000 years. And over the last 2,000 years, look at all the people that turned their nose up, walked away, refused to hear it. Many of them actually worshiped Lucifer openly. So he said, okay, I've offered the blood of my son as a free gift for some 2,000 years. You've chosen not to do it. You've chosen to walk with the devil instead. So you want to walk with the devil? Okay, fine. I'm going to give you the devil. So he gives the devil, the Antichrist, a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power is given to him to continue 40 and 2 months. How long is that? That's time times the dividing of time, or 1,260 days, or 3.5 years. That also confirms the Antichrist sits on the Ark of the Covenant in the middle of the tribulation, and there's 1,260 days, time times the time, dividing of time, 42 months left. Now, what that's actually saying is, in the middle of the tribulation, when the devil is cast out of heaven, he inhabits the body of the Antichrist, sits on the Ark of the Covenant, and at that time, God gives him a supernatural mouth to speak great things and blasphemies against God. Okay, so God is basically saying, I've offered the blood of my son for 2,000 years. You've rejected it. So you want the devil? Here, I'll give you the devil. So he gives the devil special powers, not just to speak great things and blasphemies, but then, of course, we're about to read, the false prophet comes along, calls fire out of the sky in the presence of men. Here it is. Let's look at it here. Okay, jump on here. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God. So this is the Antichrist, full of the devil, full of the dragon, opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. In other words, all of the people in the Bible. And it was given to him to make war with the saints. What do you think that is? And the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with the internal problems. To me, this is confirmation that America falls after the middle of the tribulation. We're not even in the middle of the tribulation. Some people think we're not even in the tribulation. Myself, I'm not sure. But it is another confirmation. America, this war with the saints, who are the saints? It would be America, okay? Israel, don't think so. Who's the saint nation? That would be America. It was given him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power is given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. You know, the Bible, when it says all, doesn't always mean all, but when it says all kindreds, tongues, and nations, it means all. Okay, so power is given to him to all people, kindreds, tongues, and nations, that all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. See, a lot of people think, oh, yeah, well, you know, my mama, she's not a Christian, but, you know, when she sees all of these things in the end days come along, she's going to receive Jesus. Well, my brother, he's not a Christian, but I believe when this trouble hits, he's going to receive Jesus. Well, I hope you're right. But the problem is, what if you're wrong? What if when they see the Antichrist, this smooth-talking, devil-tongued man, speaking blasphemies at the gift of God, and their name is not already in the book of life, they're going to take that mark. They're going to worship the beast. My point being, if you want your family, sons, daughters, friends, neighbors, whoever it is, if you want them saved, you best get them saved before the Antichrist shows up. Because once the Antichrist shows up, if their name is not already written in the book of life, it's going to be hard to get it there. I'm not going to say they can't. I'm not the judge. But I'm just saying right here, you best start talking to them. They might not like you. You might lose a friend. But better to lose a friend than lose a soul. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity. Now, I don't like this verse. I'll tell you right up front. This is one verse in the Bible I don't like. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. What's that saying? It's saying that if you turn someone over to the New World Order, if you turn someone over to the people that are handing out the mark of the beast, you're going to get turned over. If you kill someone with a sword, you're going to be killed with a sword. So to a Christian, what it's basically saying is, when they come after you and you haven't taken the mark of the beast, don't pull your shooting iron on them. Don't pull a knife on them. Don't fight them. I told you I don't like the verse. Okay? But that's what it's saying. He that leadeth into captivity, in other words, if you lead people, if you turn people over for captivity, then you will go into captivity. If you killed with the sword, you're going to be killed with a sword. What he's saying is, wait a minute, are you saying I have to allow them to catch me? No, you run, hide, but don't kill them. Don't turn other people in that haven't taken the mark of the beast. Don't turn people over that haven't. You get caught. I mean, kind of like it did Dimitri. If you tell me how you get the Bibles through, he said if I had told them how they got the Bibles through, there would have been a lot of people killed and children starved to death because, well, anyway, there's too long a story. What it's saying is, if you turn people in that have not taken the mark of the beast, you're going to be turned in. What it's saying is, if you kill with the sword, you'll be killed with the sword. So to a Christian, it's saying, don't report people in, don't give them away, and also don't kill those people coming after you because you haven't taken the mark of the beast. Are you saying that I have to cooperate? No, just run and hide. But we should not kill people coming after us. Then you'd be saying, that sounds kind of like it's God's plan for a lot of Christians to be beheaded. And that would probably be correct. That's the reason I don't like the verse. But it's there for a reason. It's saying don't report them. Okay, let's go on. And I beheld another beast. Okay, now we're talking about, in my opinion, a pope. Why? Because it's talking about another woman, and the woman is always the church, and it's going to say that this one's coming up out of the earth. This is the false prophet. As Jesus had John the Baptist, the Antichrist has the false prophet, one that is a confirming voice for him. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. Okay, what's the lamb? And that would be someone of a Christian faith, someone that looks very kind and speaks very softly. Two horns. Now, what are the two horns? I believe that in the Catholic Church, there is a white pope and a black pope, and that has nothing to do with skin color. The white pope is the one that the public sees. And there's another one called the black pope that the public does not see. So, two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So, he's full of the devil. Now, let me say something about the Catholic Church. I don't think the Catholic Church is perfect. I don't think the Spirit of Prophecy Church is perfect either. I think every one of the churches has some things that we fall short on, just like Revelation chapter 2 and things, but 2 and 3. But this I have against you. So every one of the churches has some things they're doing wrong. So I'm not trying to beat up on the Catholic Church. Yes, they have a lot of things doing wrong. But when by the way, I have met some very good Catholics. When I was in full gospel business, man, I met some very loving, on fire, born again, soul winning, tongue talking Christians that were Catholics. I was shocked, but there are some really good Catholics. So I think if you start throwing rocks at every Catholic and calling every Catholic bad, I think that's a very dangerous thing, because there's some really good Catholics out there. There's some good Catholics out there that would make us Protestants look pretty bad. Anyway, I beheld another beast coming out of the earth. So this is the false prophet. This is the religious guy. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. What does that mean? Here's what it means. And he causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast. Okay, so this is the John the Baptist telling everybody that this is Jesus. That's essentially what it is. So he's the religious guy pointing to the political guy, the Antichrist. Now, the beast and the dragon together. Everybody got to worship him. That's what he's saying. That's his job. He exercises all the power of the first beast before him. Now, what does that mean? Here's about to tell you the power. He causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. There is a guy out there that I just got 2 weeks ago. Somebody sent me a link to him. He is claiming to be the Mahdi, the 12th Imam, the Messiah, and Jesus. Yep, I made a program on it. And he says that he is challenging anyone else and their God to kind of like an Elijah preach off, that whoever is God, let him answer by fire. He is challenging the other religions of the world to meet him, to call fire to the sky, to burn up a sacrifice. And the one whose God answers by fire, let him be God. Is that scary? That's what he's saying. Now, when I say that, I've not actually heard him say that, but I have got several emails of people that have thoroughly researched him, and they say that's what he's saying. So I will say that I haven't actually heard him say that, but it's been reported. So I'll let you do your own research. But anyway, here's the point. So what if he is the Mahdi? Okay, now who's the Mahdi? That's what the Muslims consider to be the Messiah, their Messiah. He's the Muslim Messiah. He's also, I forget what they call the Hindu God. Every one of the religions of the world is expecting some one man to return to be God, to lead them. Like the Hindus, I forget his name, Vishnu, I think it is. And of course, then the Jews are expecting Messiah. And of course, we Christians know that we've already got our Christ. But he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. You see, they have satellites up there. My opinion, that's what caused the Maui fire and the Palisades, California fire. Satellite, high-tech weapons. If you go into Joel, I think it is, that it's a Garden of Eden before them, behind them, it's a desolate wilderness. In other words, they have some kind of like a laser beam down from satellite. Well, that would certainly work, wouldn't it? And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. That will deceive a lot of people. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles. Look at, if he got all of the religions of the world to gather together, and they sacrificed animals, and he caused fire from laser, from satellite to come down, and everybody saw it, how many people would believe that? How many people would be convinced of that? Sad to say, many of them, especially if they're still looking for their Messiah. But I'm not looking for my Messiah. I've already found him. I'm watching for him to return again, but he doesn't return like that. Revelation 14, I looked, and lo, a lamb stood upon the Mount Sinai, with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. Oh, let's go in here. And he deceived them that dwell in the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast. Now, let me talk about that. I talked several times about this past week at the Prophecy Club. You really should go listen to them. But I'm going to just say it in a sentence or two. I believe that the image of the beast, yes, is also flesh, half computer. I think that it's going to be connected into the quantum computers, which is the AI stuff that Trump and his buddies have spent $500 billion on. Okay. But I don't think the image of the beast is just flesh and blood and part computer. I think the ultimate is the actual computer program. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause. As many as would not worship the beast should be killed. That, I think, is a computer program. In the movie Terminator, they called it Skynet, and it took over all of the defense mechanisms. And I believe what the image of the beast is ultimately going to be is a computer program, which I believe is already started, and it's already what they call sentient. In other words, it's no longer just what mankind made it to be. It is now learning at a geometric rate, and it is in control of everything or just almost everything, and with the ultimate goal to be in charge of everything that touches the internet, or really through Starlink, all of that. It's all connected. So the image of the beast is probably a half man, half machine, like Jesus was half man, half God, okay, half Mary, half Holy Spirit. It makes perfect sense to me that the image of the beast, well, let me back up. The Antichrist, or the Antichrist, will be half man, half alien, half man, half devil, or half man, half computer. But at the end of the day, when it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, the computer program now has been given life. It is now learning things that mankind did not teach it or did not write into the code. It is now AI. So you could say AI is the image of the beast. And that's what we're trying to beat China in the AI race. We're trying to beat Saudi Arabia and France and England. Everybody's racing to have AI. But no one stopped to think AI is actually going to be really, really bad, because it's going to be tied into everything. If your computer is attached to the internet, either Wi-Fi or by cable, it's controlling it. If your refrigerator has Wi-Fi, if the doorbell you have has Wi-Fi, your cell phone, anything that connects to the internet, this image of the beast has control of. Now, right now, it's just watching, it's listening, it's recording everything. I've heard it said that the internet is forever, meaning anything that goes through the air, through a fiber cable, a copper cable, if it goes from one person to another and it goes through some kind of a system to get there, image of the beast has got it. It's all recorded, and it is accessible to it instantly. I've got some examples, but I've run out of time, so I'm not going to cover them. Okay. Let me back up again. Let me read the next couple of verses. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, by calling fire to the sky, which he had power to do in the sight of the first beast, or the Antichrist. So the false prophet calls fire out of the sky, saying them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power, let me back up. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause, as when and many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So what's the image? It's a computer program. Wait a minute, I thought it was a person. It's a person. Half man, half computer, right? Okay. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in the forehead. And that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, whose number is 666. Now, I'm going to close there, but I could show you the images of what we believe the mark of the beast looks like, the number of his name, but I've shown those many, many times. Instead, I want to pray for you. Let me see if I may have a question here. Okay. Does the Antichrist use the mark of the beast? Here we go. Does the Antichrist use the mark of the beast the whole 7 years or the last 3.5 years? I believe that the mark of the beast is introduced slowly and gradually. It's kind of like when you got a credit card in the mail the first time, well, I'm never going to use that, but I'll put it in my billfold, put it in my purse. And that way, in case of a rainy day, if I need it, then I'll use it. And guess what? It wasn't too many weeks before you found a need and you used it. Now, the billfold in the purse is full of credit cards, okay? I think it's going to be slowly introduced. It will come on to be rather harmless at first, kind of like another credit card. I've heard that what they plan to do is to do away with the coins and the paper, to do away with the dollar. Like Daniel Davis said he saw in his dream, A man stepped to the microphone and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. The United States, as you've seen it, the United States, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. All property lines are dissolved, and the US dollar is worthless." So they'll come out with a new digital currency. An 11-year-old boy saw it's not a cell phone, but it's about the size of a cell phone. You can't make phone calls, you can't play games on it. This is only for buying and selling. And it's a digital currency, kind of like XRP or blockchain or Bitcoin or something like that, some kind of a crypto thing. And that no man might buy or sell unless they have the mark. And in order to get this, you have to go in and register, give them your face print, your retina print, your fingerprint, probably a little drop of your blood. Your DNA wouldn't surprise me a bit if you had to do that. And after they totally get you into the system, then they open up an account, and they probably put a pretty large sum of money in there. Maybe like, $50,000. How many people would sign up if they got $50,000 for signing up? A lot of people, okay, if it was a pretty good amount. And then, of course, from that point on, they can control everything you buy and sell. So it'll come on like that. Answer to your question, I don't think it's 7 years. I'm pretty sure it doesn't get identified as the mark of the beast. We Christians can't call it the mark of the beast until actually we have the beast. And that happens in the middle of the tribulation. Now, he is falling endlessly and helplessly in the bottomless pit until he is released, and that is at the start of the tribulation. So, in answer to your question, and the real answer to your question, I don't know, but I think that he will start getting introduced at the beginning of the tribulation. And for most people, they might think he is just another, like a Hitler, like a really charismatic guy. But once he sets on the Ark of the Covenant, of course, the Ark of the Covenant hasn't even been pulled out yet. And once he stops animal sacrifice, and they haven't started animal sacrifice in Israel yet. See, so we're close, but we're not there yet. Okay, we're just not there. We don't have a world government yet. We don't have a third beast yet. A third beast is a caliphate. Remember the leopard with 4 heads and 4 wings? We don't have that now. This little trip that Trump just took down to visit the Arabs down in Saudi Arabia and Dubai and the UAE. Well, what happens if he comes back? And this time yesterday, he was on his way back to D.C., he said. What happens if all of a sudden Iran bends the knee and they say, okay, fine, we'll give up all of our nuclear weapons. We will give up all of our uranium, all of our centrifuges, everything. We will let whoever come in and inspect, whoever, wherever, whenever. And in exchange, you drop all of the sanctions. You help us to become a rich nation. And then what if part of that is they turn to Israel and say, Israel, look at Iran is giving up all of their nuclear weapons. They've agreed to this. And so if you want to be part of this, then we got to have you give a Palestinian state. And all of a sudden the newspaper headline appears, Omar ushers in Palestinian state. A couple of days after that, catastrophe hits America. A big earthquake opens up America from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf of America. A tsunami hits the East Coast, chunks of California all the way up into Alaska, fall in the ocean, and we're living in a different world. That could happen in the next couple of weeks. And part of that could be the forming of the third beast. The third beast was a leopard. It had 4 wings of a fowl, so that's 4 land masses, 4 heads, so each land mass has a ruler, and it's a leopard, so it's Muslim. We do not have that right now. We do not have a group of 4 Muslim nations that work together. I mean, again, they're kind of like herding cats. Most of the Muslims do not work together. But all of a sudden, we could see that in the next couple of weeks. All of a sudden, we see big changes. Do I know that's going to happen? No. Could it? Yes. Will it? We'll see. I don't know. But Yeah, I've seen one. Here it is. Guy from Syria says he's the Mahdi. Yeah. Um, directed energy weapons from firing from space satellites. He's correct. And that's literally AI. Uh, let me pray for you. And let me also ask if God has blessed you and you can help with a donation, now would be a really, really good time. Lord, you've called me to raise up an army of end time prophecy teachers working miracles. And these 100 or so people online that are watching, and the 1,500 to 2,000 views we get over the next week, those are the best people to be part of your army. And I ask you to arrange for these people to get the information they need. We know that you do not call the equipped, you equip the called. I ask you to call them. I ask you to equip them to be teachers of revelation and spreaders of the gospel. That they would be like Daniel chapter 12. Those that turn many to righteousness shall shine as the stars forever. He that wins souls is wise. And that you would use them in the laying on of hands to use in the great time of great miracles, winning souls, seeing miracles like no one has seen going all the way back to Adam and Eve. And I ask you to bless them. Bless them, provide for them, guide them, direct them, send them angels, give them dreams and visions, use them in very, very powerful ways so that every one of them will hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the kingdom of God. Enter into the joy of the Lord. My voice is giving out. Sorry. I can only do this for about an hour and my voice starts going. I remember I used to do thles 3-day crusades. Les and I are still wondering the other day, how did we do those? 9 to noon, 2 to 5, 7 to 10 for 3 days in a row. I don't even know how we did it. But anyway, so it is a great honor and a privilege for me to be bringing this Bible study to you, and hopefully it has been a real blessing to you. And I'm going to say goodbye and look for us next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on. It seems like Leslie, I know that we shut it down for June and July, but I think we're still on for a few more weeks. So I'll let you know. Anyway, God bless. Thanks for watching.